The supermarket was unusually busy that afternoon, filled with the hum of conversations, the beeping of scanned items, and the squeak of carts rolling across polished floors. Among the crowd was Thomas Harlow, a 68-year-old retired Army veteran known around town for his calm demeanor, disciplined habits, and quiet kindness. He walked with a slight limp, a reminder of the years he spent serving his country overseas, but he moved with dignity, carrying the same sense of purpose that defined his entire life. What Thomas didn't expect, however, was that a simple grocery run would turn into a humiliating confrontation, one that would shake the entire town and expose a deep crack in the local police force. For standing near the exit, fueled by arrogance and a dangerous sense of authority, was Officer Brent Miller, a cop with a reputation for unnecessary aggression, especially toward the elderly and vulnerable. What Officer Miller didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Thomas wasn't just a harmless old man. He was the father of Chief of Police Daniel Harlow, a respected fair, zero-tolerance-for abuse leader, who had vowed to clean up the department the moment he was sworn in. Within minutes, a confrontation would ignite, a humiliation would unfold, and a career would crumble, all because one officer underestimated a man who had sacrificed far more than he could ever imagine. Thomas Harlow had just finished picking up his weekly groceries: oatmeal, fruit, a few cans of soup, and some medication his doctor recommended. The cashier greeted him warmly. Everyone in town knew Thomas, admired him even. He had coached kids baseball, volunteered at the community center, and attended every town parade in full veteran uniform. But as he approached the exit, his bag of apples slipped from the top of the cart and rolled onto the floor. He bent down slowly. His knee had been injured by shrapnel years ago, and that was when Officer Brent Miller saw him. Brent had been patrolling inside the store after several petty theft complaints. To him, an older man picking items off the floor looked suspicious. Brent held a mindset that certain people fit a profile, and unfortunately, Thomas now fit one of those profiles in his eyes, weak, alone, and seemingly confused. "Hey, you there?" Brent barked from across the aisle. Thomas looked up, confused but polite. "Are you talking to me, son?" "Don't play games," Brent snapped, walking toward him with a swagger. "I saw you stash something in your bag. Empty your pockets right now." Several shoppers stopped to watch. Thomas frowned gently. "Officer, I dropped my apples. I didn't." "Hands behind your back," Brent interrupted. Without waiting for Thomas to speak, he grabbed the veteran's arm, twisted it forcefully, and shoved him against the display shelf. Thomas winced as pain shot through his damaged shoulder. People gasped. A few pulled out phones. "Officer, please, my shoulder, save it," Brent growled. "Thieves always have excuses." Those words stung. Thomas spent his entire life living honorably, fighting for the very country this officer represented, and now he was being treated like a criminal. When Thomas tried to shift his weight because of his limp, Brent mistook it for resistance. That's when the officer slammed him harder against the shelf and snapped handcuffs onto his wrists. Despite him offering no resistance, the metal bit into his skin. His breathing became strained. "Sir, that man is a veteran," someone shouted. Another customer added. "He didn't steal anything. He just dropped fruit." Brent ignored them. Authority was his shield, and ego was his fuel. He dragged Thomas toward the front of the store while telling the crowd, "This is what happens when you steal." Thomas lowered his eyes in shame, not because he'd done anything wrong, but because he couldn't believe he was being humiliated this way, in front of the very community he served and protected for decades. He remained calm, dignified, but inside, he felt something he rarely ever felt: helplessness. Little did he know the next few minutes would trigger a storm the officer never saw coming. As Officer Brent Miller dragged Thomas toward his patrol car outside the supermarket, a crowd had already formed behind them. Several people recorded the scene, outraged at the officer's behavior, but Brent dismissed them with a smirk. He enjoyed being the center of authority. Thomas, breathing heavily, tried once more to speak. "Officer, please. My son should be notified." "Oh, I'll notify whatever public defender you get," Brent scoffed. "Think you can play the poor old man routine with me? Not happening." A woman pushing a stroller stepped forward. "Officer, he's not a thief. He's Mr. Harlow." "He's a veteran," Brent snapped. "Ma'am, step back or you'll be detained too." That was the moment Thomas's patience finally cracked. Not in anger, but in heartbreak. He wasn't used to seeing innocent people threatened. He quietly said, "My son is Chief Harlow. Please call him." Brent rolled his eyes. "Sure he is. And I'm the president. Save the fantasy." He pushed Thomas into the backseat of the patrol car with unnecessary force. Inside, the veteran's heart beat painfully. His shoulder throbbed, and his dignity felt shattered. But fate intervened when Assistant Manager Linda Hart stormed out of the supermarket. "Officer Miller," she shouted, "you need to stop immediately." "I'm busy handling a criminal," he replied. Linda pointed at Thomas. "That man is Chief Harlow's father." For the first time, Brent's confidence faltered. "What? He's a decorated veteran. Everyone in this town knows him." Several customers nodded, adding pressure. One even said, "Call the chief right now or we will." Brent swallowed hard. His throat tightened. His palms began to sweat. Chief Daniel Harlow was not someone to cross. He was strict, fair, and unafraid to discipline officers who abused power. Brent hesitated, but pressure from the crowd forced him to take out his phone. When Chief Harlow answered, his voice was calm and steady. "This is Chief Harlow." Brent cleared his throat. "Sir, this is Officer Miller. Have a man detained who claims to be your father?" The silence felt like a blade. Then came the chilling reply. "You what?" Brent stuttered. "His matched the description of a shoplifting suspect, and you handcuffed my father?" The chief's voice dropped, dangerously quiet. "Yes, sir. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Do not move. Do not touch him again." Brent ended the call, pale as snow. For the first time since the incident began, fear not arrogance controlled him. When the police SUV pulled into the supermarket parking lot, every witness fell silent. Chief Daniel Harlow stepped out, his boots hitting the pavement with authority. His eyes locked on the patrol car where his father sat in pain. "He didn't walk," he stormed at. He whispered when he reached the door. Seeing Thomas's swollen wrist, his bruised arm, and the shame in his eyes ignited a rage he had never experienced. Thomas looked up with a soft, tired smile. "Danny, it's okay. I just dropped some apples." The simplicity of those words broke the chief's heart. He turned toward Officer Miller now, trembling visibly. "Step forward," the chief ordered. Brent obeyed. "In front of all these witnesses, you assaulted a 68-year-old disabled veteran. You ignored explanations. You ignored civilians. You used excessive force. And you handcuffed my father without cause." Brent attempted a desperate defense. "Sir, he acted suspicious." "Suspicious," the chief thundered, "for picking up fruit he dropped, for walking slowly because of his war injuries." Brent's words died in his throat. Chief Harlow continued, "You have embarrassed this department, this community, and me. Your badge is a privilege, not a weapon. And today, you used it like a weapon." He looked toward the crowd. "Did any of you witness resistance?" Dozens of voices answered. "No. Phones captured everything." The chief stepped closer, lowering his voice to a cutting whisper. "You're done." He removed Brent's badge himself, then his gun, then his radio. "You are officially relieved of duty, effective immediately." Brent's knees nearly buckled. "Sir, please, I didn't know." "That's the problem," the chief snapped. "You didn't care to know." 2 officers arrived and escorted Brent away for internal processing. Chief Harlow then returned to his father, helping him out of the car gently. "Let's get you checked at the hospital," he said softly. Thomas nodded. "You did the right thing, son." The crowd applauded not for the humiliation of the officer, but for justice, fairness, and a chief who wouldn't tolerate abuse, not even when his own family was involved. As they drove away, Thomas finally allowed himself to breathe again, and the town would never forget the day a veteran's quiet strength and a chief's unwavering integrity brought down the arrogance of a man who misused the badge entrusted to him.